Hi guys, Tommy here, and in this video I wanted to go into a few different things, a few different ways to boost our health and boost ourselves spiritually, mentally as well. And I'm going to go over each point, not too thoroughly. We'll go over them quite quickly. There's a few different things I wanted to cover. Maybe in some other videos we'll go over them in a bit more detail. So let's get into it. So the first one that's really important for our health is our sleep, obviously. This is very good, obviously, for helping us repair our muscles, really refresh us. We spend obviously a lot of time sleeping, maybe about a third of our time, depending on what we're doing. Sometimes athletes might do like midday naps. I've never been able to do that personally, but I know some athletes do that. They work, they get up after sleep, work out, train, sleep 2-3 hours, then train again. They go quite hard in training sessions. I've never been able to do that though. So 8 hours I recommend, just generally. Try and get that quality sleep. Yeah, make sure you're doing that consistently. If you don't do that, it's going to catch up to you eventually, and it's going to affect your energy levels. You know, you're not going to be there mentally, and obviously that will affect you physically. You're not going to be able to repair your body, your cells and your muscles as much, and that's going to affect you in the long run. So, you know, all this hustle culture, you know, I'll sleep when I'm dead kind of thing. You need to really respect your sleep and get as much in as you can, and good quality sleep to recover and repair. The next thing I wanted to speak about was a simple one I did mention in one of my earlier videos, was getting outside. Getting outside, I recommend as early as possible and for as long as possible. In this day and age, I know a lot of people like to sit indoors all day or don't get outside enough. You need that fresh air. You need to be out no matter where you are, even if it's a bit cold or if it's raining. I love getting outside. It started raining there as I said that. And that's going to be good for you. You know, that's going to be good for your body, good for your skin. You know, get that sunlight on you, and that's going to really improve your health. So make sure we all do that, as I say, early as possible, and for as long as possible. I know obviously a lot of us with our lives got work or whatever and might need to do things indoors, but try and get out when you can at least. The next point I wanted to speak about was movements, exercise and movements of the body. I'll speak about sort of stretching first. Stretching, sort of biomechanical movements, really getting to know your body. This is something I think we should be taught in schools, but we're not necessarily. We should be taught from a young age, I think. You know, stability, strength, balance, flexibility, all these things. And we're not really taught about these things, and they're really important to us, I believe, for our healths, for blood flow. You know, fuller range of movement will help us or prevent us getting injured. You know, it's going to be really important if we do sport, but even if we don't do much sport, this is going to be really helpful. I mean, if we land funny on a joint and we have been doing a lot of stretching, that's going to be able to take some of the impact, because we're going to have fuller range of movement, aren't we? So that's going to benefit us and prevent us getting injured. Really getting to know your body's important. Ido Portal is a good person to look up for this. I haven't looked into him too much myself, but my brother has, and he recommends him. And I think speaks a lot about body movements, and yeah, really getting to know yourself, because everyone's body's different. So getting to know your own body and stretching. I stretch quite a lot. Of people think I'm a bit weird for doing it, but I think we should actually normalise this and make it a thing that we all do and incorporate into our lives. This I'd recommend just doing daily, whenever you can and as much as possible, whether it's squatting, stretching, just moving about, really getting to a feel for your own body. It brings me on to exercise and warming down after exercise as well. I just want to say before I go on to that I have an opinion that most people actually might not agree with, but I actually think moving and stretching about would be if you were doing movement and stretching about and not doing exercise, might actually be better for you than doing exercise and not stretching. Obviously, I'd recommend doing both, but I just think you can have all sorts of problems, injuries. You'll have like back pains and stuff if your posture's not correct. If you're not stretching and you're not using your body to how it is supposed to be, and not in like natural positions, postures and things like that. So you can have all sorts of long-term issues, and all different kinds of issues to do with your joints and your muscles. You're not going to be able to build muscle properly if you haven't got fuller range of movement, or good range of movement with your joints. So really important. That brings me on to exercise. Exercise we should be doing every day, I believe. If you're an athlete, you might do it like twice a day, as I kind of mentioned earlier. If you're just starting out and you don't exercise much, just start off small. If you're unfit particularly, or you're maybe like elderly or something, or if you're unfit, just maybe obviously if you're elderly, obviously you probably don't go like too hard. Do obviously like walking and stuff. Try and move about at least, and maybe the stretches like I mentioned, and the biomechanical movements, getting to know your own body, yoga, Pilates or whatever, or just your own thing, and moving about. If you're unfit and you're a bit younger, I would say start off maybe small, but try and do something every day and keep it consistent. I think you don't need to be running like a marathon every day. Obviously that's a bit of an extreme example, but at least if you were doing a little bit of running each day, even if it was just a small, like 1 or 2 laps of a field, like a small field, or like a couple of laps, or like even just like 1 lap of like a running track, that would still be better. And then you were doing that consistently, that would probably be better than just doing like 3-4 miles and then not doing anything for the next 4 days. So try and keep it consistent when you're doing exercise. Obviously if you're more fit, what I was going to say, with if you're more fit, actually try and push yourself when you're exercising. Always think you can be doing more than you think, and you're going to you're going to like expand your kind of belief in your consciousness, and you're going to be able to prove to yourself you can do more than you thought, which will then get you on to doing more in general. And then when wasp just flew into my fucking jumper. When you get used to doing more, then you're going to find it easier to do less, and you're going to be fitter in general from doing that, and you're going to be healthier in general by doing that. But you're going to naturally work harder anyway. So if you can incorporate that into your daily exercises, maybe you're at the gym, maybe you're on the treadmill, maybe you could go a bit further and you choose to do that extra mile or kilometre or whatever. Maybe you're lifting weights and you think, oh yeah, I might be able to lift that weight, obviously within reason, and then you go and do that, and you push yourself there. Generally I think we should all do that. Or maybe you're playing football or something, and you're you're being a bit complacent, moving about, and you're being a bit lazy. Make those extra runs, keep pushing until the final whistle kind of thing. Really try and be doing that, and get used to pushing yourself and becoming that guy that just works and works and works. And you're going to feel a lot better about yourself. You're going to be a lot fulfilled, and you're going to be a lot healthier. You're going to be a lot fitter. And you're going to be a lot more accountable for yourself, really. You're going to respect yourself more. So that was stretching and fitness. Obviously move about, and just try and do that every day, both of those every day. Obviously with the stretching, just incorporate it when you can. I know a lot of us sit down, we might be at an office job, a lot of us drive a lot, we're in these unnatural positions, we sit down, we're on chairs, we're in these unnatural positions, so try and incorporate that when we can. The next part I wanted to go on to was diet, food, drink, and fasting. So with diet, I think a lot of us, and what we're told to do, 3 meals a day for example, is not really, I don't think we're supposed to eat 3 meals a day, and a lot of the foods we eat are toxic, and our body has to do a lot of work breaking them down. I'll just touch on a few things. So breakfast, for example, is breaking your fast. I'm going to get onto fasting and the benefits of fasting. So I try to avoid breakfast. I don't really eat breakfast, and I'll usually then probably have lunch and then a meal. My diet's not perfect, by the way. That's I'm not acting like I'm a saint. I have a bit of a sweet tooth, and that's certainly a big thing for me that I need to work on, and I will work on. So I'm not claiming I'm perfect or anything, but yeah, diet's certainly something that I need to work on. But it's really important. There's a lot of foods that we consume that we're not really supposed to. Obviously, high sugar, very bad for you. This is bad for you mentally anyway, because it's a big dopamine hitter. Eating a lot of sugar and stuff. I'm guilty of that, as I've said. But yeah, very bad for you having a lot of sugar. Kind of obviously, particularly the high sugar and the refined sugar. Obviously, there's sugar in fruit and stuff, which I'd say is more natural and acceptable. But certainly not the high sugar diets and all the snacks we eat, sweets and chocolate, stuff like that. Obviously, any drugs and alcohol, avoid. I'd say that should really go without saying. I didn't really want to talk about that too much, but yeah, obviously try and avoid that if you can. Obviously, I think drugs like psychedelics, possibly weed as well, maybe can be used maybe for health purposes, but generally stay away from it. And if you are fucking smoking weed, I wouldn't recommend smoking weed. That's definitely something I would advise against. And if you are going to do it, make sure you're in fucking control of your relationship with weed if you do smoke weed, because that can, that does destroy your ambition, makes you very lazy. So yeah, that's a no-no for weed, really. But yeah, drugs and alcohol, other than that, for healing purposes, stay away from. And I'm not going to speak about that too much because I wanted to speak about food. Obviously, the other foods that are bad, meat, I don't think we should be doing meat. I'll probably do a separate video on some of these things, and this one as well. I actually don't think we should be eating meat in general. I think the only reason meat is it's the only reason it's kind of, I think the only reasons it would be acceptable to eat meat is if you've been doing it so long, your body's used to it and you're going to have a problem coming off it. In that case, I'd still recommend probably eating less meat. I think it's a lot more of a spiritual and ethical issue. I don't think you should be butchering an animal and eating it. I don't think that's an optimal diet for a human. I don't think that's morally correct. And I don't think that's what God intended for us to do, in my opinion. I know a lot of people won't agree with me saying that, but that's genuinely what I feel. And yeah, if you watch how some of these factory farms, I don't think we should be doing it anyway, even if they were kind of slaughtered correctly. But if you look at some of this factory farming where we get a lot of our meat, beef, chicken, pork, etc., it's, they're pretty grim conditions. And yeah, if you have any kind of brain or heart, you'd be very mindful about if you were going to consume the meat and dairy. So yeah, that's a no-no for me. I've cut out meat generally, and as I say, it's more of a spiritual kind of ethical thing. I know a lot of people say you need animal protein and whatnot. I think it's recycled protein anyway. I mean, I'd be interested to see exactly what you are getting from dead animal flesh that you can't get from a plant. But yeah, as I say, or in a survival situation, that was the other only reason that could be acceptable to eat meat, if you needed it to survive. Otherwise, you just fast, I think. I don't think it's very optimal, and you're operating at a lower vibration when you're eating meat. You're operating in a lower chakra, a lower vibration when you're consuming the flesh of a dead animal. You're consuming death, and energy obviously transmutes. Energy is real. So yeah, try and stay away from that, and dairy as well. Something that I do try and steer clear of dairy, but I still have it a little bit sometimes, which I probably should try and cut out. And yeah, but some of the so-called dairy products, I debate whether they're actually from like cow's milk, for example, like cheese and stuff. I think that's up for debate as well. Having said that, obviously a lot of fake foods in the supermarket. High like starch diets, kind of like bread, pasta, rice. I think limit them. I've noticed sometimes I turn to that a bit more since I stopped eating meat, which isn't a good thing. You're probably wondering at that point, okay, what should we eat then? Well, that kind of brings me on to the next thing about fasting and trying to eat as less as possible, or kind of eat kind of what we need for nutrition purposes. So I think an optimal diet would probably be like maybe like a kind of raw vegan kind of thing. I think a lot of fasting in there. So you got your fruits, vegetables, salads. Not saying don't cook your food, but I think an optimal diet would probably do it less. As I say, my diet's far from perfect, but that's probably where we'd have to be headed in that situation. There's a good Stoic quote about it's not the man that I think correlates very well with diet. It's not the man who has the most but needs the least. I think that's very important, and it relates very well with diet and nutrition. I think we can go like a lot longer and survive a lot longer than we think without like eating and eating less and the things we consume. And we don't need to eat half as much as we do, in my opinion. Our body produces our own water, as Kevin Gates says, and when we fast, it eats all our bad cells up. Bring me on to fasting. This is a very good way, I believe, to cleanse our bodies. Get rid of all the bad cells, as I've said, and all the toxins in there. I think you'll be healed if you fast. Again, a bit more of a spiritual thing there with fasting, and I think the longer you go, the more benefits you're going to have. It's going to clear you up, it's going to clean your skin. I'll be honest with you, I haven't actually fasted specifically much, and that's something I will have to do in the future, and I suppose I will do in the future. But yeah, so that's sort of that lighter meals, fruits, vegetable salads kind of thing. I'm not saying you can't indulge in like the carbs and the starches, but that does break down to sugar, and that's ultimately not good for you. So if you're going to do it, try and do it in smaller portions if you can. And just with all these things, with fasting and with diet, just slower. If you're eating a lot of meat, or you eat, even if you like drink a lot of alcohol, you might be able to cut it out, but just slowly get it down. Less toxicity. It's not going to be overnight. You're just going to fall into the same trap again if you try and do it in a day, generally. So slowly try and improve yourself, your diet, and try and eat less shit, basically, and make that a gradual improvement, as opposed to right then and there, because usually you're just going to fall into a trap again, as I say. But yeah, back onto fasting. It's gonna really clean your skin up. You're gonna feel very healthy, and that's a lot more of a spiritual thing, I think, that you're gonna experience once you do that. As I say, I haven't really experienced it too much firsthand because I haven't really done it. But you're giving your gut, you're giving your body a rest from just eating shit all the time. And I will just mention, you're going to clear yourself up, basically, and that's probably the best way to do it. It speaks about Jesus doing it in the Bible and like Buddha doing that and stuff, but I think whether or not these specific stories are true, I think it's the principle is still the same, and it's definitely something that's going to benefit you in terms of your health. I did just want to mention, just with food and sleep. So I actually think in the mornings it's easier to like not eat much in the mornings. Maybe have some. I like to like drink water, maybe like a tea. Not straight away. Did just have a ginger and garlic tea with a bit of lemon. Can sometimes add a bit of honey. That's very good for your. Had a bit of a cold coming on. I didn't eat. I was snacking a bit last night after football. So I feel I have a bit of a cold coming on, a bit of a detox, so I had that, and that's very good for your throat, and those sorts of things are very good for you in terms of kind of healing yourself, like healing kind of remedies, the ginger, garlic, honey, and lemon and stuff like that. There's a few others as well, but so yeah, I'd like to fast in the mornings. I think that's the easiest time to do it because you're on an empty stomach, and I wanted to. Yeah, just with the sleep part and food, try not to eat too close before you sleep, because your body's seems quite obvious, or drink. Try and leave like an hour or so before that. Obviously your phone as well, just in terms of sleep, but with your diet, and if you drink too much water, for example, if you drink too much water, you're just going to need a piss, you know, in your sleep. So try and go to sleep on a bit of an empty stomach, or just leave an hour or so from when you've eaten and drunk before you go to sleep, basically. Because otherwise body's gonna be doing a lot of work. You're not gonna hit that like REM sleep and your deep sleep as much, and that's gonna, you know, have negative effects on you, your state of mind, obviously your physical, and you know, your emotional health as well. So that's important to consider. That I didn't mention back when I was speaking about sleep in the first point. So yeah, that's mainly everything about diet and fasting. There was actually one other point about water supply. Now, or the water we drink. I drink distilled water. Now, obviously that's a very important part in terms of our health. Is the water that we're drinking. And if you notice, or if you kind of look into any of that stuff, you know that the water we get from our taps there's a lot of stuff in it that it's just not supposed to be going into our body. Chemicals, hormones, heavy metals, all kinds of things in tap water. And I don't, if I'm honest, I'm quite dubious and quite cautious about even bottled water as well. As I say, I drink distilled water. That's, I think, the best thing. I know reverse osmosis is supposed to be quite good as well. That's basically got the least toxins in it. I think the only better water than that I can really think of is if you were getting it maybe that has a lot of like mineral content in it, water. I'd assume maybe like from you know, upstream sources, like maybe, you know, mountains and stuff. But you know, the water we get in our taps is recycled. So it, you know, it goes into the sewers, so that our water that we, you know, like piss and shit in, goes to the sewers, and then it gets treated, and I think it goes back into the water supply, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, and then it gets, you know, later downstream used back into our water supply, and they treat it. So yeah, but it's recycled water, and it's, you know, if there's like fucking chemicals and all that in it, or like people have been taking medicine, it's going back into the water supply. There's all kinds of shit in there, hormones and all of that. So be careful about that. And water holds memory as well, which is another important thing to consider. So I mean, if you can get it from a natural source, probably the best. I drink distilled water. I'll put a picture of my distiller after like one round of one cycle of it being distilled, and show you what's left in the bottom of it. It's kind of this like metally kind of, can't really explain it too well, but it's basically every 4 litres you get this sort of pasty kind of the shit that you would be drinking if you were just drinking tap water. And it's, you know, it's not good for you, it's not good for your brain, calcified your pineal gland, the fluoride in there. Yeah, there's all heavy metals and shit. That's not going to be good for you. You get fucking dementia if you carry on drinking that your whole life. So, you know, very bad for your brain, very bad for your health. You know, all the metals in there and shit, hormones and that, very bad for you. That tap water, and as I say, bottled water, Evian, Naive, Backwards. I'd just be cautious and careful about even bottled water. I'd assume it's like similar as well. I haven't actually tested the water. So there's probably other people that have done that and you can look at, but yeah, water, very important, because we need water, and that's like a fundamental thing to our lives and our health. So make sure we're getting the cleanest water we can. As I say, I drink distilled, and reverse osmosis I think is good as well. There's probably other ways you can filter it, but ultimately it's still coming out the tap. So yeah, just try and get some clean water as best you can. Obviously I recommend distilled, and reverse osmosis I think is pretty good as well in terms of getting rid of all the bad stuff. That's everything about diet, health and fasting, or diet, food and fasting. The other couple of things I wanted to mention was semen retention. Now this is a huge one for men, and I think this is really underrated in our society now, and not really looked at as much. I think the only reason the only way it's really looked at is if you kind of search it up or go out looking for it, but it's not really spoken about other than that. Semen retention, I think, is a very good one in terms of energy levels, how you it's very important to transmute the energy on semen retention, and you'll naturally do that, I think, if you hold off from fapping, sex or finishing in particular, in sex, coming basically, and you're gonna have this, this newfound energy. Once you do that, you're gonna attract women better once you've been doing this. I can say I've never done it for longer than a few weeks, like longer than a month, which I'd certainly aim to do. There's guys out there who have done it for longer than that, and who have been more disciplined than me in that sense. But this is something that is extremely underrated. I think sexual discipline anyway, and sexual reserve anyways, is underrated, or not really spoken about, and the benefits of it aren't really told about. Like, there's a lot of things that can happen, and negative effects of lack of sexual discipline and lack of sexual reserve, and just kind of sleeping around, men and women. It can affect both of them negatively. Unwanted pregnancies, STDs, single parenthood, abortions, lots of things really. If you have a kid at a young age, it can affect your life as a man or woman in a negative way in a lot of time. So I think with semen retention or having sexual discipline, it's really important. I think I'd say the only time you would really want to be having sex, or even like finishing inside someone, more importantly, would be for the sole purpose of having children, really. Try and not to spread yourself thin with different people. Really respect yourself in terms of sexually, and you'll start to develop this aura, this magnetism, because your seed contains consciousness, and you'll feel you have this energy, and as I say, you'll feel this health. It'll turn you into some a machine, really. Now you'll be glowing your skin. People notice it, usually unconsciously. When you walk into a room, women will be attracted to you. That their ovaries are attracted to that. So bear that in mind. They're all the benefits of this semen retention. The next thing I wanted to speak about was cold showers. Now, a lot of people do it. This is obviously good for repair of the muscles, good for hormones, helps boost testosterone. And what I like to do is I start off the shower warm, make sure I'm all clean, get nice and clean, and then I do a cold shower. I don't do actually too cold. So obviously when I'm doing hot, it opens up all the pores, good clean. Then I do a good wash. If I was going to use any shampoo or not, I'd probably do it then. And then cold for the end. I don't do it like extremely cold, just cold enough. Move about a bit, get it all around me, and that tightens up your skin, good for blood flow. It wakes you up, so don't do this too late. If you're going to do it morning, I don't do it first thing, but not too late, maybe like sort of morning or afternoon. I actually like doing it as well sometimes before I go out, or before I do exercise. I think some people do it after. This is very good for blood flow, repair of it's good for your muscles, obviously repair or growth, but it's good, and it's good for your hormones as well. Apparently boost testosterone, and I think you can feel it. It definitely wakes you up a little bit, and this is certainly something we can do to improve our health, and something that we should all incorporate into our lives where we can. That was that. And the only other things was so coming off your phone and coming away from all the instant gratification on your phone, the social media, the short form content. Try and put your phone down, interact with people, get about in nature, and also connection with God, prayer, meditation, that sort of stuff. Making sure we're, if we have any queries and things that need to be answered and issues that need to be solved, there's something inside of us that can answer all our questions and all our queries, and we just need to build that self-belief. Always believe in yourself. Try to avoid negative self-talk. A limited mindset. Always know that you can do it. All things can be answered. You can be healthy. You can overcome the challenges that you're facing at this moment, and everything can be answered. Just if we ask and we have faith that these things can be answered and these issues can be solved. We can master ourselves, or whatever it is you're dealing with, or we can deal with certain people. So yeah, self-talk, self-belief, really important, and belief in the internal kind of the infinite intelligence and the creator, if you like, or nature, whichever way you want to call it, the universe, whichever you want to call it. And yeah, obviously positive self-talk, not any limiting self-talk, and trying to avoid complaining and criticizing too much. Certainly complaining, trying to look for the positive things instead of being bummed down by the negative, complaining, criticizing people. People are in a lot worse situations than you are, and always try and realize that and try not to complain. You get a lot out of it, and trying to avoid the negative emotions where you can, and focus on the good things instead of focusing on the bad too much. Obviously easier said than done, but you certainly live a more peaceful and loving life once you incorporate that and are a bit more positive. No one wants to be around someone who's negative and has a limited mindset, or complains all the time, or criticizes people all the time. I don't think we should really go around judging people. We don't really know everyone's situations, and there might be good reason there would be reason for the things they do, and that there might be good reason for the way they behave sometimes, or certainly reason anyway, but maybe at a time we might have done that, or maybe we have our own faults that we need to deal with, or we don't know their situations. So try not to judge too much, even if someone is being a twat, or is doing things unpleasant, or being unpleasant, or they're an unpleasant person, or whatever, or difficult to deal with. Try not to judge people, and just try and improve ourselves and remain positive, and avoid negative emotions, frustration, anger, jealousy, envy, those sorts of things, any sort of hate, or any lack of discipline, or fear or anxiety. Try and fear or anxiety, try and conquer those emotions, and really live abundantly and more peacefully and more lovingly. And that will bring me on to the point of the connections we have with people, and trying to grow the ones that I did mention this in a video before, but growing the ones that growing our relationships with people and networking with the people that uplift us, that hold us accountable, and vice versa, and the people we can truly grow with, really, and try and establish those connections. I don't think negative people can ultimately be avoided all the time. I think that they'll always be there to an extent, but just try and do our best to promote relationships that will help us grow truly, and people that hold us accountable and things like that. That's everything. That's everything on sort of self-talk, and faith in yourself and the creator, and more spiritual unity, and sort of more of a spiritual side, that last point. But that's everything. They're the ways to improve our health. As I say, I might go into some of these points in separate videos and go through each point a bit more thoroughly, or at least some of them, depending on what they are, so we can explain them and go into them a bit more. Leave a comment if you agree or disagree with any of this. But yeah, ultimately I hope that video helped you guys. Hope you got a lot out of that. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.